Well, I was obsessed with the Penguins, then King Julian, then Daria. Now what? No. Well, I'm obsessed with Invader Zim now. Truth be told, I've been a fan of this show since my middle school years, as cringy as that sounds. And now in the year of 2023, what better way to show my love for this series than to make an iceberg video for it? This is an iceberg I made myself with inspiration from another iceberg that I'll link in the details. But now, without further ado, this is the iceberg to Invader Zim. Enter the Florpus. Enter the Florpus was the Invader Zim movie that released on Netflix in August of 2019. It focuses on Zim realizing the almighty Tullust aren't coming to Earth, so he teleports the Earth in their flight path. It's up to Dib and Gaz to rescue their father from space prison and get the Earth back before it gets sucked into a Florpus hole. Hot topic. During the height of Zim's popularity, multitudes of merchandise were made for the show and were primarily marketed as a store Hot Topic, a place for most fandom merchandise. Still being sold to this day, most of, if not all of the Invader Zim merch is of Gur. Seriously, go to Hot Topic's website and search Invader Zim. Be amazed. Jhonen Vasquez. Jhonen Vasquez is the creator of Invader Zim, and beforehand was known for his more adult-oriented comics, such as Squee, I Feel Sick, and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. In Invader Zim, he's also the voice of Zim's computer, Minnie Moose, and Clembrain in Enter the Florpus. Comic series. In July of 2015, an Invader Zim comic series was published by Oni Press, who also worked on a Rick and Morty comic series. The Invader Zim comics ran for a total of 50 monthly issues, then 4 quarterly issues, ending with a one-shot special comic in August of 2021. The first issue of the comics was also partially adapted into the beginning of Enter the Florpus. Pilot episode. Like all cartoons, Invader Zim had a pilot episode that was shown to Nickelodeon back in 1999. A few things differed between it and what would become the final series. For starters, probably the biggest change is that Zim is voiced by Billy West in the pilot instead of Richard Horvitz. The colors in the pilot are also different for some characters. For example, Dib's shirt is yellow instead of blue, and Zim's eyes are a brighter pink. Unfinished episodes. Invader Zim, while a popular show on Nickelodeon, ended up getting cancelled prematurely partway into its second season. A primary reason listed being that while again, the show was popular, it wasn't popular within the age demographic Nickelodeon was aiming for, that being kids aged around 6 to 10 years. Because of the cancellation, a large number of episodes in various stages of production were left unfinished. For the sake of this part not being a mile long, I'll just abridge it by saying that some episodes have scripts, some have audio recordings, and some just have brief premises. There's a list of them on the Lost Media Wiki if you're curious. Minnie Moose. Minnie Moose was a character that only ever appeared in one finished episode, that being The Most Horrible Christmas Ever. Their debut episode, Nubs of Doom, ended up being part of the unfinished episodes after the show got suddenly cancelled. When the news broke, the crew could only pick one episode to finish production on, so they chose the Christmas special, aware that fans would be confused over Minnie Moose's appearance. There was actually a plan to Photoshop Minnie Moose into previous episodes as a gag in a Christmas special, but the idea was cut for time. Minnie Moose would continue to make appearances in the comic series and in Enter the Florpus. Recap Kid. Recap Kid was a character who appeared at the start of all the Invader Zim monthly comics. In every issue, they would summarize the events of the previous issue, usually in a hyper-crazed fan sort of way. In the case of the first issue, they summarized the plot of the show and who the characters were. On a few occasions, they were also part of the plot, such as getting sucked into the massive air vents, or getting pulled into a multiverse and having to find the right one. Rebecca Sugar. Rebecca Sugar is well known for being the creator of the Cartoon Network show Steven Universe. She's mentioned in the past of being a fan of Invader Zim when she was younger, and even wrote the foreword to the Invader Zim art book, talking about how the show impacted them back in high school. Fans of both Steven Universe and Invader Zim also noticed that the character Peridot shares some aspects with Zim. They're both green aliens who yell a lot and want to find out more about the planet Earth, while their initial intentions are to destroy it for their homeworld. Bloody Gur. Bloody Gur is an image of, well, Gur covered in blood. It was drawn by artist Chris Graham, who knew that the image would never make it onto Invader Zim before Naked Executive shut it down. That said, the image ended up getting snuck into single frames of various episodes of the show, and would normally only be viewable if paused at the right moment, and one observed pretty closely. The most well-known and visible example being in the intro to the episode Mordo Stir Soul Stealer, where Bloody Gur can be seen in the tubes of the house. Door to Door 9/11. There was a scene changed in the episode Door to Door when Zim puts a headset on a family to show them a reality where they don't buy his fundraising candy. The original scene depicts the Statue of Liberty floating in the water and the Arkan Armada destroying the town. The episode was pulled from airing because of the imagery combined with the fact it was supposed to air 3 days after 9/11. Nickelodeon quickly postponed the airing until March of 2002 so as not to appear insensitive, and asked for the scene to be changed. The changed version features creatures forcing humans into slavery and the school building in complete shambles along with the rest of the town. Crew cameos. In multiple episodes of Invader Zim, there are references to various crew members of the show, such as director Steve Russell, writer Eric Trueheart, and Jonah Vasquez himself. Eventually the cameos were toned down, as Vasquez felt they were a little too distracting. Nicktoons crossovers. While no TV crossovers happened with Invader Zim, the characters made appearances in several Nicktoons video games, such as Nicktoons MLB, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, Freeze Frame Frenzy, and Globs of Doom. Globs of Doom in particular features the town near the school and Zim's house's locations, and Freeze Frame Frenzy, spoilers by the way, has Zim as the main villain. Death censors. While Nickelodeon was surprisingly lenient with what made it onto the show, one thing they outright forbade was characters getting permanently killed off, both on and off screen. Take Keith from Bestest Friend. The original ending was going to show Keith dying after falling off of a roof, but Nickelodeon was against the idea, so Keith was given an extra line of dialogue to show he was okay. Another example is the episode Game Slave 2, where the antagonist, Iggins, would have died after falling 50 stories in an elevator. After Nickelodeon shut the idea down, the scene was changed to show Iggins flying out of the elevator after it crashed perfectly fine. Tak and Enter the Florpus. Tak was a character who only had one episode in the original Invader Zim series. At the end of her episode, her ship crashed in Dib's backyard, leading it to appear in future episodes. This includes Enter the Florpus, although Tak herself never made an appearance. But there were plans to include her. In 2019, Richard Horvitz and Ricky Simons had a panel at Minneapolis GalaxyCon. A fan asked about Tak being featured again in the series, to which Horvitz and Simons responded that Tak would have made a few brief cameos in the movie, Simons even claiming it was part of the script. Supposedly, it would have been revealed that Tak was a prisoner on Muping 10 who would eventually escape, and the reason her ship was so interested in taking Dib and Gaz there was because of Tak. But ultimately, any appearance of her was cut out, most likely for time. However, she does make a brief cameo in the Invader Zim comic The Dookie Loop Horror, surrounded by Muping 10 guards, implying she still may be imprisoned. Operation Head Pigeons. After Invader Zim being cancelled was made public, a bunch of fans came together to create campaigns to bring the show back. One of these was called Operation Head Pigeons, named after the illness Zim gets in the episode Dark Harvest. The goal of Operation Head Pigeons was essentially to blast Nickelodeon headquarters with letters and forum posts asking for Invader Zim to be uncancelled, or at least for the unfinished episodes to actually be finished. InvaderCon. InvaderCon was a series of Invader Zim-themed conventions created by the fans for the fans, running 3 times in 2011, 2012, and 2014. It wasn't just fans who showed up. Crew members, voice actors, even Jonah himself attended one year. There were multiple Q&A panels, autograph signings. There was a VIP breakfast that could be attended with the voice actors, and some panels featured the voice actors reading scripts of canceled episodes. If you're curious, there are plenty of videos of InvaderCon on YouTube if you search the term up. Trust me when I tell you, these things are like Invader Zim time capsules. Soapy Waffles. Soapy Waffles, named after the waffles Gur makes in Zim Eats Waffles, is an Invader Zim fan group that aimed to animate unfinished episodes of the original show. Though still unfinished to this day, Soapy Waffles did animate a good chunk of the episode Mopiness of Doom, which can be viewed on YouTube. I do also want to mention that all that seems to remain of Soapy Waffles today is the YouTube and Facebook pages. Their website domain is currently up for sale. Richard Horvitz pilot. So I mentioned that in the pilot for Invader Zim, Zim is voiced by Billy West. Well, after that, it was decided that Billy West wouldn't be the voice of Zim, as he was working on Futurama at the time. Richard Horvitz had just come back after his work on the Nick show Angry Beavers, so he ended up auditioning for Zim and landed the role. A second version of the pilot was then made, with Horvitz's voice dubbing over Billy West.
Grr! Meet me in the making stuff room! It's time to show the human boy the meaning of superior being. Grr! Meet me in the making stuff room! It's time to show the human boy the meaning of superior being.
This is considered the tougher version of the pilot to find, as it only aired on TV once, whereas the Billy West pilot was part of an Invader Zim DVD set. That said, the Horvitz pilot has been uploaded on archive.org, which I'll leave a link to if you want to see it. Mark Hamill. Before Richard Horvitz and Billy West, Zim was first originally planned to be voiced by Mark Hamill, most known for playing Luke Skywalker and the Joker. Hamill did end up making a demo reel for what his Zim would have sounded like, but ultimately it was decided he wouldn't voice the character, as he didn't fit the idea for Zim's voice. The Tallest Thumbs. This one I've always found pretty interesting. You know how in Invader Zim, all of the Urkins have 2 fingers and a thumb except for the tallest? The in-universe explanation for that is because when you become a tallest, your thumbs are cut off to prove you can rule the Empire without them. This did end up being negated in Enter the Florpus, as you can clearly see the tallest thumbs, though there have been theories that Red and Purple were actually hiding their thumbs the whole time. Mr. Skollex. Mr. Skollex is a name that appears in the end credits of Invader Zim. It's actually the pen name of creator Jhonen Vasquez, though for what reason I'll admit I'm not too sure. I also don't want to spread false information, so I'll just leave it as, yeah, Mr. Skollex isn't a real person, just Vasquez. Lost 3D footage. Okay, last time I talk about the pilot, I promise. It isn't an iceberg without some lost media. In the pilot for Invader Zim, there's a scene where Zim and Dib have a face-off while a food fight is happening in the background. There was a test animation of this face-off done entirely in 3D. It wasn't stated why, but I would speculate it was to show how Invader Zim would utilize 3D animation, since there's lots of it in the actual show. In the final pilot, the sequence is in 2D. We have screenshots of what the 3D version looks like, but not the full animation. In 2004, some people who worked on releasing the show on DVD answered questions about the animation, saying that they were having trouble tracking down the video, but were trying to find ways of accessing it. Of course, that was in 2004. Minnie Moose is non-binary. During the Enter the Florpus panel at San Diego Comic-Con 2018, Jhonen Vasquez mentioned that Minnie Moose's gender is undetermined. Specifically, he said, quote, "Minnie Moose is just Minnie Moose. We don't know if it's a he or a she," end quote. Some TV scripts have described Minnie Moose with he/him pronouns, while in the comic The Dookie Loop Horror, Zim refers to Minnie Moose with they/them pronouns. Dib is a clone. This was a plot point that was meant to be in the original series. At some point, it would have been revealed that Dib was an artificial clone created by Professor Membrane. This would have explained why there was no visible mother in the family, as well as why Dib's voice in the original series sounded somewhat processed. Scott Dulesky. Scott Dulesky was a man who, in 2005, was arrested for the murder of his neighbor. Quoting directly from the Wikipedia page of the trial, quote, "During the trial, the Nickelodeon animated television series Invader Zim was cited. The prosecution asserted that the defendant had a fascination with images of body parts. They drew attention to comments he had made after watching the episode Dark Harvest, in which the alien Zim collects human organs in an attempt to appear more human." End quote. Dulesky ended up being charged with first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Membrane is an alien. This is an interesting theory that I remember seeing go around a few times in the past. The theory is, well, that Membrane is actually an alien, most speculate an Urkin. Evidence includes his fascination with science, his vagrant disbelief in anything remotely fiction, i.e. aliens, perhaps to discredit people thinking that he's one, and I'm pretty sure the glossy goggles that look like an Urkin's eyes tip some people off too. God Save the Dib. Partway through Season 1 of Invader Zim, it was realized that Dib was slowly becoming one of the more unpopular characters of the show. This displeased Jhonen, as Dib was his favorite character, so God Save the Dib was born. God Save the Dib was specifically a packet given to storyboard artists containing changes to be made to Dib's appearance to make him funnier and less of a quote-unquote whiny bitch. The most notable of these changes was increasing the size of Dib's head, creating many big head jokes for episodes to come. Native Urkin language. In Invader Zim, the Urkin race is shown to have a unique writing language with a series of symbols. But it begs the question, what about a spoken language? Fans have speculated 2 specific parts of the show that could show hints of a native Urkin language. The first and most discussed example is the video Dib shows in the episode Mysterious Mysteries. The video shows Zim and Gur out of disguises while Zim makes random noises. Fans have taken the noises as Zim speaking a sort of native Urkin, seen from a human's perspective. Another instance pointed to was a scene in Backseat Drivers from Beyond the Stars when the Tullest are freaking out over losing control of the Massive. Tullest Purple in particular as he's stress eating donuts.
Computer, check each system for cause of problem.
It could be said that the noises are because Purple's mouth is full, or maybe he's freaking out in his native tongue. It's all speculation. Invader Dib. Invader Dib was the rumored series finale to Invader Zim. The plot supposedly had Invader 10 from the episode Megadoomer be kidnapped by the Microb, which would eventually spiral into Dib helping the Microb defeat the Irken Empire once and for all. The Resisti would have also made an appearance fighting the Irkens. The end would have had Zim, with Gaz's help for some reason, defeating Dib, the Microb, and the Resisti. In one rumored ending, Zim and Gaz would have taken over the Irken Empire, while Dib and the others were banished to Saturn. This episode was eventually debunked by writer Eric Trueheart in his book, The Medium-Sized Book of Zim Scripts Volume 1, who said, quote, "There was no planned ending. Sorry kids, this rumor is not true. There were never any plans for Invader Dib." End quote. The title, Invader Dib, according to Trueheart, was made purely as a joke between the production crew. And so brings the end to the Invader Zim iceberg. I hope this was fun to watch as much as it was fun for me to make this. Like, seriously, you have no clue how much fun I had looking at all these videos and researching this stuff. It's cool when you get obsessed with something and, like, you actually get to have a motive for making it. I think that's really cool. But, yeah, this is the end now. So, thank you guys all for watching. Leave appreciation if you liked it, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye!